In the heart of the North American continent lies a land of fire and ice, where the Earth's crust is thin and volatile, a place where winter is harsh and unforgiving. When temperatures plummet to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, below zero, the landscape transmutes into an ethereal realm of crystal and shadow. The silence is absolute, a stillness so profound that it seems to possess its own weight and substance. Here, survival is not guaranteed, but rather earned through adaptations perfected over millennia. The harsh winter dictates that only the strongest, most resilient, and most adaptable will live to see the gentle awakening of spring. This is nature in its most elemental and honest form, a stark reminder of our place in the natural order. A crown jewel preserved not only for its breathtaking beauty, but as a living laboratory where we can witness the dance of predators and prey, of life and death, played out on a canvas of natural splendor. Welcome to Yellowstone in winter, America's first national park and one of the last great intact ecosystems in the temperate world. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to give us more motivation to keep creating quality content. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us what you thought of the video and let us know where you're watching from so we can chat together. May Mother Nature bless everyone with good health. Peace and love for nature. Let's begin. When winter descends upon the Yellowstone Plateau, it transforms this wilderness into one of the most challenging environments on the continent. Snow accumulates to depths of several feet in the valleys and on mountain slopes, while temperatures routinely drop well below freezing. The Lamar Valley, often called the Serengeti of America, becomes the stage for nature's most dramatic survival stories. For grey wolves, reintroduced to Yellowstone in the mid-1990s, winter is a time of opportunity. Their dense double coat and efficient pack hunting strategies adapt them perfectly to these harsh conditions. A wolf pack moves as a single organism across the landscape, communicating with subtle body language as they track their prey in the snow. Their powerful sense of smell can detect animals buried under several feet of snow, or catch the scent of an elk herd miles away. The confrontation between wolf and elk is as old as time itself, a deadly ballet where each participant knows its role perfectly. Elk, despite their massive size and dangerous antlers, find themselves at a disadvantage in deep snow. Their long legs punch through the crust, forcing them to expend valuable energy with every laborious step. Wolves, with their lighter build and wider paws, can often move across the surface with relative ease. They test the herd, looking for signs of weakness, an animal lagging behind, moving with a slight limp, or showing hesitation. The decision to attack is not taken lightly. Every encounter carries the risk of injury from sharp hooves or antlers, and a broken jaw or damaged leg could mean death for a predator that must hunt to survive. When they commit, the pack works with remarkable coordination. Some wolves create a distraction, while others approach from behind. The chase can last for minutes or miles, pushing each animal's endurance to the limit. Yellowstone's geothermal heart offers an exceptional refuge in this frozen world. Across the park's roughly 20 million acres, more than 4,000 thermal features create microclimates where snow melts, exposing areas of grass. These oases become gathering spots for Yellowstone's most iconic resident, the American bison. Weighing up to nearly 2,000 pounds, these living relics of prehistoric North America have developed extraordinary adaptations to survive the winter. Their massive heads act as snowplows, sweeping the snow away to expose the vegetation. Their thick skin and dense undercoat, with hairs 10 times thicker than a human hair, insulate them from the most intense cold. They lower their metabolism during winter, conserving energy by moving less and digesting food more slowly. Yellowstone's winter landscape is defined by its extremes. The volcanic caldera that forms the park's central plateau is one of the largest on Earth, a sleeping giant whose thermal breath creates a mosaic of microclimates. In some areas, just a few inches below the snowpack, the ground stays warm enough to support plant life and provide crucial habitat for small mammals. The red fox has perfected a remarkable hunting technique to survive the winter. With ears capable of detecting the faintest rustle under several feet of snow, it locates voles and mice moving through their subnivean tunnels. In a behavior known as mousing, the fox leaps high and dives headfirst into the snow, often emerging with a prey in its jaws. These small predators must consume the equivalent of their body weight in food every 2 days to maintain their energy during the freezing winter months. Not all Yellowstone residents choose to face the challenges of winter head-on. Nearly 150 bird species depart for warmer climates, while others, like the grizzly bear, opt to hibernate. By late October, most grizzly bears have retreated to their dens after spending the previous months in a feeding frenzy known as hyperphagia, consuming up to 20,000 calories a day to build up the fat reserves that will allow them to survive the winter sleep. A pregnant bear gives birth during hibernation, usually to twins. The cubs, weighing less than a pound at birth, feed and grow in the safety of the den while winter rages outside. Upon emerging in the spring, they will weigh about 15 pounds and face the challenges of the outside world alongside their protective mother. For Yellowstone's elk, winter is a brutal equation of energy conservation. These magnificent ungulates, which can number over 10,000 in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, must find enough food to survive while wasting as little energy as possible. Many migrate to lower elevations outside the park, following ancient routes their ancestors have used for millennia. Those that stay face a daily struggle to find enough food and avoid predators. The sound of elk hooves scraping the snow becomes the winter soundtrack of the valleys. They dig crater-like depressions, exposing the sparse vegetation hidden beneath. Their specialized digestive systems allow them to process even the lowest quality forage, extracting maximum nutrition from frozen grasses and shrubs that would barely provide sustenance to other species. Death in winter creates an opportunity for Yellowstone's cleanup crew. Ravens, with intelligence rivaling that of chimpanzees, follow wolf packs, knowing that a successful hunt will provide them with a feast. These cunning birds have been observed pulling wolves' tails to distract them from a carcass or dropping sticks on sleeping wolves to scare them away from their prey. Coyotes are more cautious, waiting for the wolves to leave before approaching to devour what remains. Their relationship is complex and often violent. Wolves kill coyotes, not only out of competition, but seemingly due to a territorial imperative. However, coyotes persist, thanks to their adaptability and cunning, sometimes forming temporary alliances with ravens that act as aerial scouts, helping them locate food in exchange for access to carcasses that the coyote can tear open with its powerful jaws. Not all of Yellowstone's winter residents merely endure the season, as some seem to enjoy it. river otters transform ice-covered channels into playgrounds, creating slides along the riverbanks that they use not only to move efficiently, but seemingly for pure pleasure. These aquatic weasels keep holes open in the ice for fishing and can remain submerged for up to 4 minutes while hunting. Their dense fur, with a density of up to 1 million hairs per square inch, keeps them insulated even in the coldest waters. The Madison River, fed by thermal waters, remains partially open during the winter, creating a vital resource for waterfowl. Trumpeter swans, the largest native waterfowl in North America, gather in these rare open waters. Hunted nearly to extinction for their feathers, fewer than 70 birds remained in the contiguous 48 states in 1935. Today, their captivating calls echo across Yellowstone's winter landscape. As winter deepens, the park enters a state of suspended animation. The snow muffles sound, creating a silence interrupted only by the creaking of trees bearing the excessive weight of the snow or the distant howl of wolves celebrating a successful hunt. Temperatures can vary drastically from intense cold under clear skies to relatively mild temperatures during snowstorms, when the cloud cover acts as an insulator. The nights bring their own magic to the Yellowstone winter. With minimal light pollution, the stars shine with unusual clarity, and occasionally the northern lights dance across the sky, forming green curtains. The cold air carries sound with astonishing efficiency, so much so that the hoot of a great horned owl could travel for miles across the frozen landscape. For the creatures of Yellowstone, winter is not something to be conquered, but endured through adaptation. Each species carries the wisdom of countless generations etched into their bodies and behaviors, lessons learned through relentless natural selection. This ancestral knowledge is manifested in the massive head of the bison, evolved to sweep away snow, in the fox's precise pounce, and in the wolf's cooperative hunting strategies. As January gives way to February, and February to March, winter seems endless. Food becomes scarce, predators grow more desperate, prey becomes more vulnerable. The weak and the old begin to succumb, and their bodies become sustenance for others in the great nutrient recycling that keeps this ecosystem functioning. After the long silence of winter, the first sounds of spring in Yellowstone emerge timidly. Water dripping from icicles, the soft babbling of streams beginning to flow beneath the thinning ice, the distant honking of Canada geese returning from their southern sojourns. This is a season of dramatic transformation, when the park sheds its white mantle to reveal the vibrant life that has been waiting beneath the surface, ready for explosive growth. Welcome to Yellowstone in spring, a season of rebirth and rapid awakening, where life accelerates from the sleepy pace of winter to a frantic rhythm of growth and reproduction. Here, in America's first national park, the transition between seasons showcases nature's extraordinary resilience and the intricate timing that has evolved over millennia. For Yellowstone's grizzly bears, the onset of spring marks the end of up to 5 months of hibernation. The mother bear, having given birth during her winter slumber, now faces the challenge of finding enough nutrition and protecting her vulnerable cubs. She has lost up to 30% of her body weight during hibernation and must replenish her reserves while producing quality milk for her growing young. The bear's first meals usually come from the remains of animals that died during the winter, such as carcasses of elk, bison, or deer that succumbed to the season's hardships. As omnivores with versatile diets, grizzly bears quickly transition to digging for roots, tubers, and glacier lily bulbs as these plants emerge. Their massive shoulder muscles and long claws make them efficient diggers, capable of quickly turning over large expanses of earth in search of food. Communication becomes crucial as bears emerge from winter isolation. Marking trees by rubbing against them and scratching their backs serves as a complex olfactory bulletin board for the bear community. Each bear leaves a unique scent print that conveys information about its identity, reproductive status, and dominance. In a landscape where direct encounters could lead to dangerous confrontations, this chemical messaging system helps bears navigate their social world, maintaining the necessary distance. For Yellowstone's wolf packs, spring brings new challenges and opportunities. The breeding female, who mated in February, now prepares to give birth. The pack becomes increasingly protective of its den, often a repurposed and expanded badger or coyote burrow, or a natural cavity among rocks or tree roots. Inside this sanctuary, 4 to 6 pups will be born, blind and completely dependent on their mother and the pack's extended family structure. The wolf pups develop rapidly. They open their eyes after about 2 weeks. 3 weeks, they begin to emerge from the den and explore their surroundings under the watchful protection of the pack members. The entire pack participates in raising the pups, with non-breeding adults bringing them food and taking turns caring for them while others hunt. This cooperative rearing strategy increases the chances of survival in a harsh environment where hunting success is never guaranteed. Spring hunting requires different tactics than winter hunting. As the snow retreats, elk regain some mobility advantage, but the calves born in May and June become primary targets. Wolves must strike a balance between the ease of catching these vulnerable young and their small size, which provides fewer nutrients for the effort expended. Adult elk, particularly females recovering from the nutritional demands of winter and gestation, remain vulnerable as they have not yet regained their peak condition. The bison calving season transforms Yellowstone's demographic landscape. They are born with a distinctive orange-red coat that darkens with age. Bison calves can stand within an hour of birth and keep up with the herd within a day. The calves, affectionately called red dogs by park staff due to their coloration and playful behavior, infuse new energy into the herds. Bison mothers form scattered nursery groups, creating a formidable defensive perimeter around their young. When wolves or bears get too close, these massive mothers present a unified front. Their sharp horns and 2,000-pound build make potential predators reconsider their hunting options. Even grizzly bears, the apex predators of this ecosystem, approach a defensive bison herd with due caution. As smaller mammals emerge from hibernation or their winter burrows, they become prey for Yellowstone's opportunistic hunters. Coyotes shift their diet, moving from winter carrion to actively hunting ground squirrels, voles, and mice. Their distinctive pouncing technique, similar to that of foxes but with its own style, becomes common in the meadows where rodents have become active. North America's fastest land mammal, the pronghorn, returns to the park's northern ranges as the snow retreats. Capable of reaching sustained speeds of up to 55 miles per hour, these elegant ungulates evolved their remarkable swiftness to escape now-vanished predators like the American cheetahs that went extinct at the end of the last ice age. Today, their speed provides them a wide margin of safety from wolves and coyotes, although newborn fawns remain vulnerable. Pronghorn females separate from the herd to give birth, usually to twins that they hide in the tall grass during their first few weeks of life. The fawns possess little scent. Their spotted coats provide excellent camouflage, and they instinctively lie motionless when danger approaches. The mother only returns briefly to nurse them, thereby minimizing the likelihood of predators detecting her visit. Black bears, often overshadowed by their larger grizzly cousins, emerge from hibernation with their own family challenges. More likely to inhabit the park's forested regions than the open valleys preferred by grizzlies, black bear mothers send their cubs up trees when danger threatens. Unlike grizzly bear cubs, which usually stay with their mother for 2 to 3 years, black bear cubs typically become independent after just 16 or 17 months. The awakening of the ground presents its own dramas as insects become active and subterranean rodents resume their busy lives. Badgers, with their distinctive striped faces and powerful digging ability, excavate complex burrow systems in search of ground squirrels and marmots. These determined predators can move surprising amounts of dirt in minutes. Their bodies seem designed like living excavation machines. Yellowstone's landscape undergoes a drastic transformation in spring. As the snowmelt saturates the ground, the dormant vegetation responds with explosive growth. The first wildflowers, such as glacier lilies, spring beauties, and yellow bellflowers, emerge from the snowbanks, sometimes blooming literally at the edge of the snow. These early blooms take advantage of the abundant moisture and increasing sunlight before the tree canopy closes and leaves them in shade. Glacier lilies represent nature's extraordinary timing mechanisms. Their bulbs contain specialized enzymes that allow them to generate heat, melting the snow right above them and creating space for their growth. Their bright yellow flowers transform entire hillsides within days of the snow retreating, providing essential early-season food for grizzly bears that consume them by the thousands. In the park's rivers and streams, cutthroat trout begin their annual spawning rituals. The females use their tails to dig shallow depressions in the riverbed gravel, where they deposit their eggs for the males to fertilize. These spawning areas, called redds, appear as clean patches of gravel amidst the darker riverbed, visible signs of the renewal taking place beneath the water's surface. The trout spawning season attracts attention from above. Ospreys, having returned from their southern wintering grounds, establish nesting territories near productive fishing areas. These specialized birds of prey, sometimes called fish hawks, can dive completely into the water feet first, before emerging with a fish firmly gripped in their curved talons. Their reversible outer toe and specialized foot pads with sharp spicules allow them to securely hold slippery prey during the flight back to their massive stick nests. Bears are also drawn to the spawning fish, although Yellowstone's grizzly bears are less skilled anglers than their salmon-eating coastal relatives. However, the concentrated protein source that the spawning trout represents draws hungry bears to the stream banks, where they may use their paws to pin fish against the bank, or simply wade into the water and attempt to trap them against the bottom. Beavers become particularly active as spring progresses, repairing dams and lodges damaged by winter ice and spring floods. These ecosystem engineers transform the landscape through their construction activities, creating wetlands that benefit countless species. A single beaver family can fell hundreds of trees a year, preferring aspen, cottonwood, and willow for building materials and food. The beaver's incisors are extraordinary tools. They are self-sharpening, continuously growing teeth with iron-reinforced enamel that gives them their distinctive orange color. These specialized teeth allow them to devour trees much larger than themselves, adapting the riparian environment to their needs and creating a complex habitat that increases biodiversity throughout the system. As the wetlands thaw and the ground warms, Yellowstone's resident birds return in waves determined by their migratory patterns. Sandhill cranes, among the first to arrive, perform elaborate courtship dances in open meadows. Standing nearly 5 feet tall, these ancient birds leap with partially extended wings, bowing and arching in synchronized movements that strengthen pair bonds that can last for decades. Warmer days trigger the reproductive activity of amphibians. Western toads emerge from hibernation and gather in shallow ponds and lakeshores. Males emit trills to attract females. After mating, females lay strings of eggs, up to 16,000 per female, which hatch into tadpoles that must complete their metamorphosis before their aquatic habitat dries up in the summer heat. These amphibians are important indicators of ecosystem health. Their permeable skin makes them particularly vulnerable to environmental toxins, while their complex life cycle, transitioning from aquatic to terrestrial habitats, exposes them to challenges in multiple environments. Scientists closely monitor their populations as amphibian declines can indicate broader environmental problems. In the coniferous forests that cover much of Yellowstone, a member of the weasel family dedicates itself to spring hunting. The marten, with its rich brown fur and cream-colored throat patch, moves with astonishing agility among trees and fallen logs. These small predators can take down prey larger than themselves, such as red squirrels and snowshoe hares that have shed their white winter coats for a summer camouflage brown. The aspens growing in stands along the park's mid-elevations experience their own spring transformation. Their distinctive white bark, which contains chlorophyll and contributes to photosynthesis, becomes even more striking as bright green leaves emerge from sticky buds. These trees reproduce primarily through root sprouts rather than seeds, creating clonal colonies where dozens or even hundreds of seemingly individual trees are part of the same organism, sharing a single massive root system. For the park's elk, spring brings much-needed nutritional relief. The growth of fresh grass provides protein-rich forage. After months of subsisting on woody browse of low nutritional value, pregnant cows, with the added burden of developing calves, seek out these emerging green patches with special urgency. Their bodies, depleted by winter scarcity, must now support not only their own recovery, but also the final stages of fetal development and the intense caloric demands of the lactation that will follow. Elk calving usually peaks in late May and early June, when mothers seek secluded areas away from the main herd to give birth. Newborn calves weigh around 35 pounds and sport a spotted coat that provides excellent camouflage amidst the dappled light of the forest. During their first few weeks, they employ a strategy similar to that of pronghorn fawns. They remain hidden while their mothers graze nearby, returning several times a day to nurse. On the steep, rocky slopes of Yellowstone's mountains, bighorn sheep welcome their new generation. The lambs are born with an innate climbing ability that develops rapidly under their mother's tutelage. Within a few days of birth, they can navigate precarious ledges and nearly vertical rock faces. These adaptations allow them to escape predators that cannot follow them into such challenging terrain. The parks, meadows and forest edges become stages for avian courtship as migratory songbirds establish territories and attract mates. Mountain bluebirds, among the first to return, show off their brilliant azure plumage as males perform aerial displays and present potential nest cavities to choosy females. Their insectivorous diet forces them to time their arrival precisely. If they arrive too early, they may find insufficient food. If they arrive too late, the best nesting sites will be claimed by competitors. More subtle signs reveal the continued presence of permanent residents like the ruffed grouse. Males establish display territories where they perform their characteristic drumming, climbing onto a fallen log and beating their wings at an accelerating rate that produces a sound like distant thunder. These display sites, called drumming logs, are identified by the accumulation of droppings and may be used by successive generations of grouse for decades. Yellow-bellied marmots emerge from 8 months of hibernation with considerable work ahead of them. These large ground squirrels must regain the weight lost during their long winter slumber and prepare for the brief summer breeding season. Their distinctive warning whistles echo across the rocky slopes to alert colony members of potential aerial threats, primarily golden eagles that can swoop down and carry off even adult marmots. Spring weather in Yellowstone is notoriously unstable. Warm sunshine can give way to snowfall in a matter of hours. Afternoon thunderstorms become increasingly frequent as the season progresses. Their dramatic cloud formations build over the mountains before unleashing lightning, hail, and brief torrential downpours. These storms, though sometimes dangerous, provide essential moisture and nitrogen. In areas where fires have created openings in the forest canopy, vegetative succession unfolds. Lodgepole pines, with their serotinous cones that require heat to release seeds, establish new shoots in the burned areas. These species initiate the long process of forest regeneration that will span decades, gradually increasing shade and modifying soil conditions to allow the development of more diverse plant communities. Clark's nutcrackers, specialized corvids with exceptional spatial memory, play a crucial role in the regeneration of the whitebark pine. These birds can remember thousands of seed cache locations in complex mountainous terrain. The seeds they fail to retrieve, up to 98,000 per bird, become the next generation of these slow-growing, high-altitude trees that provide crucial food resources for grizzly bears in autumn. As temperatures rise, Yellowstone's thermal features exhibit their most vibrant colors. The microorganisms that inhabit the hot springs, such as extremophile bacteria and archaea, capable of surviving temperatures that would cook ordinary cells, create vivid rings of color around the azure blue of the deeper waters. Each color band represents communities of organisms adapted to specific temperature ranges, creating living thermometers visible across the landscape. The contrast of biological and geological forces defines Yellowstone's unique character. Here, evolution has produced species adapted not only to seasonal extremes, but also to the chemical and thermal challenges of living atop an active supervolcano. As spring approaches summer, the pace of the park accelerates. The days lengthen drastically, allowing plants to maximize photosynthesis. The animals that endured the scarcity of winter now find themselves in a landscape of growing abundance. The rush to reproduce, grow, and prepare for the brief period of optimal conditions generates frantic activity across all habitats and elevation zones. In this time of renewal, the intricate timing mechanisms that have evolved over millennia become evident. From the precise temperature gauges that signal plants to emerge from dormancy, to the photoperiod cues that stimulate reproductive behavior in animals, and the complex interactions between predators and prey, everything is calibrated to the specific conditions of this extraordinary ecosystem. Spring in Yellowstone offers a window into these synchronicities, revealing the dance of life that has unfolded here since the retreat of the last glaciers. Summer arrives in Yellowstone with the subtlety of an explosion. It is a season of abundance almost unimaginable during winter, a time when the brief window of ideal conditions triggers a biological race to grow, reproduce, and prepare for the challenges ahead. Across the park's roughly 20 million acres, life manifests in countless forms and strategies. From microscopic soil bacteria processing nutrients to massive bull bison establishing their reproductive dominance, all organisms participate in the great summer acceleration. The sun's energy, captured by photosynthesizing plants, ripples through the food web with a unique intensity in this brief season of plenty. For Yellowstone's grizzly bears, summer represents a crucial opportunity. After emerging from hibernation with poor nutrition, they now find themselves in an environment of increasing abundance. Females with cubs face special pressure, as they must consume enough calories to maintain milk production while teaching their young essential survival skills. A mother bear may range over hundreds of square miles during the summer, guiding her cubs to seasonal food sources as they become available. The grizzly bear's diet demonstrates its adaptability. As omnivores, they consume everything from ants and moths to elk calves and carrion. Their long, curved claws serve as multi-purpose tools. They dig up nutritious plant roots, overturn rocks to find crayfish and insects, or excavate ground squirrel burrows. A summer grizzly bear can consume 30,000 calories a day during its peak feeding periods. The cutthroat trout, which once abounded in Yellowstone Lake and its tributaries, historically constituted an important food source for bears during the summer. The illegal introduction of non-native lake trout in the 1980s devastated the cutthroat trout population, forcing bears to seek alternative food sources. Bison enter their breeding season as summer progresses. Bulls, which usually lead solitary lives or form small bachelor groups, rejoin the larger herds dominated by females and their calves. The change in the male's behavior is drastic. Their normally calm demeanor gives way to aggressive displays as they compete for breeding opportunities. Bull bison establish their dominance through impressive displays rather than actual combat whenever possible. They paw the ground, creating wallows where they roll and cover their massive bodies with dirt. They do this partly to deter biting insects, but also as a visual display of their size and vigor. Their bellows echo for miles across the valleys, announcing their presence to both potential mates and rivals. When displays prove insufficient, physical confrontations determine the reproductive hierarchy. These clashes between 2,000-pound behemoths can be of breathtaking intensity. The bulls charge at full speed with their specially adapted skulls and neck muscles, absorbing impacts that would kill most other mammals. Although rarely fatal, these battles can cause severe injuries, particularly to eyes and legs, which could compromise the bull's chances of survival during winter. The reproductive period, called the rut, transforms herd dynamics. Bulls constantly check the female's receptivity, using their keen sense of smell to detect the hormonal changes indicating estrus. A cow is fertile for less than 24 hours, leading to intense competition among the bulls. The largest and most dominant bulls perform the majority of the breeding, thereby ensuring the genetic contribution of individuals that have proven their ability to thrive in this challenging environment. For Yellowstone's elk, summer is a period of recovery and preparation. Cows that calved in late spring now graze in productive meadows, converting the abundant vegetation into rich milk for their fast-growing calves. Bulls, meanwhile, invest enormous energy into growing their antlers, the fastest-growing tissue in the animal kingdom, capable of growing up to 1 inch a day during their peak development. Elk antlers are marvels of biological engineering. They grow from specialized cells at the base and extend and branch according to genetic programming and nutritional status. During growth, they remain covered in velvet, a specialized skin rich in blood vessels that transport calcium and other minerals to the developing bone. In late summer, the antlers harden, blood flow ceases, and the velvet dries and peels off, revealing the polished bone beneath. The wolf pups born in April have now emerged from their dens and established above-ground rendezvous sites where they stay while the adults hunt. These locations become social hubs for the pack, where they develop crucial skills through play that mimics the behaviors they will need as adults. Chasing, pouncing, and establishing pack hierarchies through mock fights and tests of strength. The adult pack members take turns hunting and watching over the pups, thus maintaining the cooperative social structure that makes wolves such successful predators in this challenging environment. Upon returning, the hunters regurgitate partially digested meat for the pups and the adults that stayed behind. Summer imposes its own challenges on Yellowstone's wolves. Their dense double coat, so advantageous in winter, becomes a burden in the summer heat. Wolves become primarily active at dawn and dusk, resting in shaded areas during the hottest hours. Their hunting success rate decreases compared to winter, as prey regains strength and mobility thanks to abundant nutrition. The pronghorn fawns born in spring now exhibit the remarkable speed that defines their species. By midsummer, they can outrun most predators by practicing their sprinting and pronking, a distinctive leap in which all 4 hooves lift off the ground simultaneously. This behavior, which appears playful, actually develops the coordination and cardiovascular capacity that could one day save their lives. The pronghorn's massive eyes, proportionally among the largest of any land mammal, reveal its evolutionary history. With pupils that remain horizontal regardless of head position and a field of vision close to 320 degrees, they can detect movement up to nearly 4 miles away. These adaptations evolved to detect American cheetahs and other fast predators that vanished at the end of the Pleistocene, leaving the pronghorn seemingly over-engineered for its current environment. Black bears reach their peak activity level during the summer, and their omnivorous diet varies according to food availability. Unlike grizzly bears, black bears are expert climbers, a skill they use both to forage for food and to escape threats. Their curved claws act as natural climbing tools, allowing them to ascend vertical trunks with surprising speed and descend backward or with a controlled slide, resembling a firefighter on a pole. The bear's diet undergoes seasonal transitions as different foods reach their peak nutritional value. Early summer brings the emergence of plants and insect proteins, which transition into berries as they ripen at different elevations. Bears possess exceptional spatial memory, returning to their productive feeding areas year after year, often following the same routes across the landscape. This creates what biologists call cultural knowledge, which is passed down from generation to generation. On Yellowstone's lakes and ponds, trumpeter swan cygnets, hatched in early summer, follow their parents closely, learning to find aquatic vegetation, invertebrates, and occasionally small fish. These massive birds, with a wingspan of almost 8 feet, were nearly extinct by the early 20th century due to hunting for their feathers and skins. Their recovery represents one of conservation's partial successes, although they remain vulnerable to habitat loss and human disturbance. Beaver colonies reach their annual peak of activity during the summer months. These extraordinary ecosystem engineers maintain complex family groups within sturdy lodges built from branches and mud. Their dams transform free-flowing streams into productive wetlands that benefit countless species, from aquatic insects and amphibians to moose and waterfowl. A single beaver family can fell hundreds of trees a year with an apparent selectivity for certain species and sizes. Their preferred food, the inner bark of aspen, cottonwood and willow, becomes more nutritious during the summer months. The animals store excess branches underwater near their lodges, thereby creating food piles that will allow them to feed when ice makes foraging difficult or impossible. The moose, North America's largest deer species, finds an ideal habitat in these beaver-created wetlands. Their specialized digestive system allows them to process aquatic plants that would be unpalatable or toxic to other ungulates. A moose can consume between 48 and 60 pounds of vegetation a day during the summer, accumulating reserves that will allow it to survive the winter when its metabolism slows down and food becomes scarce. Moose have developed remarkable adaptations for their semi-aquatic lifestyle. Their elongated snouts and prehensile upper lips function as flexible tweezers to gather vegetation both above and below the water. The distinctive flap of skin hanging from their throat, called a dewlap or bell, might function as a social signaling mechanism, although its exact purpose remains a subject of debate among biologists. Summer brings the best fishing opportunities for Yellowstone's osprey. These specialized birds of prey, sometimes called fishhawks, possess unique adaptations for their piscivorous lifestyle. Their outer toe can rotate backward to provide a double grip, both front and back, on slippery fish. The special pads on their feet contain sharp spicules that improve their grip, while the backward-facing scales on their talons act as barbs to prevent fish from escaping. Osprey nests, often built on dead trees near productive fishing areas, become hubs of activity as the parents deliver an almost continuous stream of fish to the growing chicks. The young develop rapidly, reaching almost adult size within 6 weeks of hatching. Their first flights usually occur between 7 and 8 weeks after hatching, although the parents continue to provide them with food while the fledglings develop hunting skills. While ospreys specialize in fishing, other birds of prey pursue different quarry. Peregrine falcons, having recovered from near extinction due to DDT pollution, hunt smaller birds with spectacular aerial attacks. In their hunting dive, at a speed that can exceed 200 miles per hour, they become the fastest animals on Earth. This speed allows them to strike their prey in midair with such force that the impact alone is usually fatal. Golden eagles patrol the higher elevations of Yellowstone, where thermal currents offer ideal flying conditions. With a wingspan of nearly 8 feet and talons capable of exerting a pressure of 4,800 pounds per square inch, they can capture prey as large as pronghorn or coyote pups. Their primary summer prey are yellow-bellied marmots and white-tailed jackrabbits, although they also seek out carrion when they find it. River otters are Yellowstone's most playful summer residents. These semi-aquatic members of the weasel family combine great hunting prowess with what appears to be a genuine enjoyment of their physical abilities. Families create mudslides along the riverbanks, repeatedly climbing up and sliding down into the water in an activity that seems purely recreational, but may also serve to teach young otters important movement skills. Despite their playful behavior, otters are formidable predators with specialized adaptations for aquatic hunting. Their sensitive whiskers can detect the movement of their prey in murky waters or total darkness. Their powerful jaws and sharp teeth allow them to dispatch fish quickly. Their dense double-layered fur, with up to 1 million hairs per square inch, provides them with insulation even in the coldest mountain streams. Summer in Yellowstone brings daily meteorological dramas. As the sun warms the landscape, moisture-laden air rises rapidly over the mountains, forming towering thunderclouds that can reach heights of 50,000 feet or more. By mid-afternoon, these storms typically unleash brief but intense downpours, lightning, and occasionally hail before dissipating at dusk, repeating the cycle the next day. Lightning from these storms sparks numerous small fires annually, a natural process that has shaped Yellowstone's forests for millennia. Most fires are small, burning underbrush and creating scattered areas in the habitat that increase biodiversity. Occasionally, when conditions align, larger fires transform significant portions of the landscape, as observed during the historic 1988 fires, which affected more than 30% of the park. Summer days grow longer in Yellowstone, with nearly 16 hours of daylight at the solstice. This prolonged photoperiod triggers complex hormonal responses in plants and animals, accelerating growth and signaling the finite nature of the favorable season. From the chorus of songbirds at dawn to the emergence of bats at dusk, the daily cycle contains countless interwoven rhythms of activity. Broad-tailed hummingbirds, weighing less than a penny, are Yellowstone's smallest summer visitors. These aerial acrobats must daily consume more than their body weight in nectar to fuel their metabolism, which is so fast that their hearts beat more than 1,200 times per minute during flight. They pollinate numerous species of wildflowers while defending their feeding territories with aggressive displays and their characteristic wing trills. The striking plumage of the male western tanager, with its red head, yellow body, and black wings, makes it one of Yellowstone's most colorful summer residents. These neotropical migrants travel thousands of miles annually between wintering grounds in Central America and northern breeding grounds. The brilliant red pigment of their feathers comes from their diet. Unlike many red birds that can synthesize their own red pigments, tanagers must consume insects containing specific compounds that their bodies convert to attain their distinctive red coloration. Mule deer spend the summer recovering from the rigors of winter. Unlike their white-tailed cousins, which prefer river corridors and denser forests, mule deer thrive in Yellowstone's drier, more open habitats. Their characteristic bounding gait, called stotting, involves all four hooves leaving the ground simultaneously, allowing them to navigate rugged terrain with greater efficiency than a conventional running stride. The mule deer's ears, from which the deer gets its name, serve multiple functions beyond exceptional hearing. These large, highly vascularized organs act as radiators during the summer heat, allowing excess body heat to dissipate through blood vessels near the surface. The ears can rotate independently, allowing the animal to track multiple sound sources simultaneously. In Yellowstone's coniferous forests, the pine marten is one of the most efficient summer predators. These arboreal members of the weasel family navigate the canopy with astonishing agility, capable of leaping several feet between branches while pursuing their prey. Despite weighing only between 2 and 3 pounds, they often hunt red squirrels of their own size, and occasionally snowshoe hares much larger than themselves. In the park's meadows, American badgers create extensive underground burrow systems that serve as a refuge for numerous other species. These powerful diggers use their massive front paws and long claws to excavate ground squirrel colonies, creating tunnel systems that can feature multiple entrances, nesting chambers, and food storage areas. Summer brings the emergence of badger cubs, which remain with their mother until their autumn dispersal. Coyotes change their hunting strategies as summer progresses. The initial focus on vulnerable elk and pronghorn calves gives way to increased attention on smaller prey as these ungulate young gain size and speed. The coyote's characteristic mouse pounce, a vertical leap that brings its front paws down with precision on small mammals detected by sound in the tall grass, becomes a common sight in meadows throughout the park. Coyote family dynamics mirror those of their wolf cousins in many ways, although the packs are usually smaller, typically consisting of a breeding pair and their pups. The pups born in spring develop rapidly during the summer, abundance, learning hunting skills through play and observation. By late summer, they begin to accompany adults on hunting forays, although they may remain with their parents through their first winter. Summer brings another migration to Yellowstone, with millions of visitors arriving to witness the park's wonders. From the predictable eruptions of the Old Faithful geyser to chance encounters with charismatic megafauna, these pilgrims to America's first national park generate their own ecological impact. Managed carefully, these visits provide crucial public support for conservation, while simultaneously funding scientific research and educational programs. The diversity of Yellowstone's summer blooms sustains over 400 species of bees, from tiny sweat bees, barely visible to the naked eye, to massive bumblebees capable of flying in near-freezing temperatures. These pollinators are the foundation of reproductive success for countless plant species, which have evolved specialized structures, colors, and chemical attractants to ensure their pollen reaches compatible flowers. Not all relationships in Yellowstone's summer landscape are obvious. Many plants, such as the brilliant Indian paintbrush, practice partial parasitism, tapping into the roots of neighboring plants to extract water and nutrients, while producing their own energy through photosynthesis. These complex interactions reveal the inadequacy of simple predator and prey models to understand ecosystem functioning. The summer heat allows Yellowstone's thermophilic bacteria to reach their maximum visibility. The vibrant orange, yellow, and green rings surrounding the hot springs represent communities of microorganisms adapted to specific temperature gradients. These extremophiles have become a subject of great scientific interest, and the enzymes extracted from Yellowstone's bacteria are now used in various fields, from genetic identification to laundry detergents. As day gives way to night, Yellowstone's diurnal creatures seek refuge, while nocturnal specialists emerge. Fireflies perform their bioluminescent courtship displays in meadows near the water. Each species produces a distinctive flash pattern, creating a silent conversation of light that allows males and females to identify compatible mates in the growing darkness. Little brown bats emerge from their daytime roosts in rock crevices and hollow trees to hunt flying insects. These aerial insectivores can consume over 1,000 mosquitoes per hour, providing natural pest control while converting insect protein into guano, which fertilizes the soil and cave ecosystems. A single maternity colony can consume tens of thousands of insects each night during the peak of summer. As summer progresses into autumn, subtle changes begin to appear. The days shorten imperceptibly, triggering hormonal changes in plants and animals. The nights become cooler, giving way to the first color changes in deciduous vegetation. The great wheel of the seasons continues its eternal turning, advancing inevitably toward the time of harvest and preparations for the return of winter. This is a season of preparation and transition, of gathering and migration, of mating rituals and final harvests before winter reclaims the highlands. Autumn's soundtrack begins before dawn, when bull elk announce their presence with evocative bugles that echo through the valleys shrouded in morning mist. Their voices, half whistle, half roar, carry for miles through the crisp mountain air, serving both as a challenge to rivals and an announcement to potential mates. The rut has begun, transforming these normally calm animals into aggressive competitors consumed by reproductive urgency. For the Yellowstone elk, autumn represents the culmination of the year's biological purpose. Bull elk have spent the summer growing and polishing their magnificent antlers, which can measure 5 feet and weigh up to 40 pounds. Now, these weapons and status symbols determine reproductive success, as the males establish and defend harems of females that sometimes include 20 or more individuals. Clashes between bulls can be spectacular and dangerous. Equally matched opponents may fight for hours, their massive antlers locked as they push, twist, and maneuver to gain an advantage. The victor claims or maintains his reproductive rights, while the vanquished retreats to recover his strength or seek less protected females. Fatal injuries are rare, but not unheard of. Broken legs, puncture wounds, or occasionally bulls whose antlers become inextricably tangled, condemning them to a slow starvation. A female elk is receptive for only 24 hours in her estrus cycle, generating intense competition among the males. The dominant bull must constantly guard his harem, detecting when each female approaches fertility while defending against opportunistic rivals. The energy expenditure is enormous, as males can lose up to 20% of their body weight during the rut, entering winter in a state of vulnerability that increases the risk of mortality. For Yellowstone's grizzly bears, autumn triggers a feeding frenzy known as hyperphagia, a biological state in which hunger overrides almost any other need. Bears must consume up to 20,000 calories a day during this period to build the fat reserves that will allow them to survive hibernation. Their already impressive digging ability intensifies as they unearth biscuit root, yampa, and other starch-rich tubers in the park's meadows. The grizzly bear's distinctive shoulder hump contains massive muscles that power its digging ability. Its front claws, which can exceed 4 inches in length, function as efficient tools. A single bear can turn over acres of soil while foraging in autumn, aerating it and dispersing plant seeds. Berry patches attract bears from miles away thanks to their extraordinary sense of smell, which detects ripe fruit over long distances. Lingonberries, serviceberries, wild cherries, and buffalo berries provide concentrated sugar that is efficiently converted into the fat needed to survive the winter. A bear can consume thousands of berries a day, whose juices stain its fur around the mouth and paws. In watersheds where native cutthroat trout populations remain healthy, autumn fish migrations provide essential proteins and fats to bears preparing for hibernation. Bears employ various fishing techniques, such as standing motionless before a rapid lunge, diving headfirst to trap fish against the stream bottom, or simply wading in shallow waters, swatting fish toward the shore with their powerful paws. At higher elevations, white bark pine seeds become available as the cones ripen. Black bears, with their superior climbing ability, ascend into the canopy to harvest this calorie-rich food source. Grizzly bears, less adept at climbing, may shake the trees or search for seeds hidden by red squirrels. A single white bark pine cone can contain more than 100 seeds, each offering concentrated nutrition crucial for weight gain before hibernation. As autumn progresses, female bears take on a distinctive appearance due to the accumulation of subcutaneous fat. Their normally dish-shaped faces thicken, and their bodies become noticeably rounded. This transformation represents a guarantee of survival. Every 2 pounds of fat sustains the female bear for approximately 1 day of hibernation. Females giving birth during the winter need additional reserves to maintain milk production while still in the den. Yellowstone's bison transition from the summer breeding season to autumnal preparation for the challenges of winter. The bulls, having expended enormous energy during the rut, focus on recovering their physical condition. Their massive heads and robust shoulders house specialized muscles and bone structure developed specifically to push aside snow and reach the forage beneath. Although less dramatic than the long-distance migrations observed historically, many Yellowstone bison make seasonal movements in response to changing conditions. As snow accumulates at higher elevations, the herds gradually move toward wintering areas at lower altitudes. These movements follow traditional routes used for generations, representing a form of cultural knowledge passed down among herd members. Bison begin to grow their winter coat as the days shorten, regardless of the temperature. Their dense, thick outer hair can reach 15 inches in length, while their dense undercoat provides thermal insulation resistant to temperatures down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This remarkable adaptation allows them to conserve body heat so efficiently that snow can accumulate on their backs without melting from body heat loss. For the Yellowstone pronghorn, autumn marks the beginning of one of the longest ungulate migrations in the contiguous 48 states. Some herds travel over 150 miles between their summer ranges in the park and their wintering grounds in Wyoming's Green River Basin. This journey crosses multiple jurisdictions, navigating a sea of roads, fences, energy projects, and residential areas. The pronghorn's remarkable adaptations become evident during migration. When alarmed, specialized muscles erect the white hairs on their rump, creating a bright signal visible from miles away that alerts other pronghorns to potential danger. Their oversized heart, lungs, and windpipe allow them to run at a sustained 35 miles per hour, with bursts exceeding 55 miles per hour. This is an evolutionary response to predators that no longer exist, but it keeps them safe from wolves and coyotes. For Yellowstone's wolves, autumn brings family consolidation as the pups born in the spring, now nearly adults, become better integrated into the pack's activities. The structured chaos of summer pup rearing gives way to more coordinated pack behaviors. Hunting efficiency improves with the participation of these adolescent wolves, although their exuberance sometimes undermines the calculated stealth of experienced adults. Wolves typically travel with a direct register trot, placing their hind paws precisely in the tracks left by the front ones. This energy-saving movement allows them to cover vast distances with minimal effort. A typical pack may patrol a territory of over 120 square miles, using howls and scent marking to communicate boundaries to neighboring packs. Pack cohesion is strengthened through shared vocalizations. Wolf howls serve multiple functions: territorial announcements, rally calls, and expressions of social bonds. Each wolf has a distinctive voice, recognizable to its packmates, and howls typically begin with one animal and build as others join in a harmonious chorus. These vocalizations can carry for miles across Yellowstone's open valleys, creating one of nature's most iconic soundscapes. Autumn brings a flurry of activity to Yellowstone's beaver colonies. These industrious rodents must ensure their dams and lodges are in perfect condition before ice formations limit their building capacity. The sound of falling trees becomes common along riparian corridors as beavers gather building materials and food caches that will allow them to survive the winter. The beaver's distinctive orange incisors grow continuously throughout its life, with harder enamel on the front surface than on the back. This differential hardness creates a self-sharpening effect as the teeth wear, maintaining a chisel-like edge capable of felling a 6-inch diameter tree in less than 30 minutes. These same teeth allow beavers to cut branches into manageable sections to transport them to their lodges. The carefully constructed beaver lodge offers protection from predators and insulation against the winter cold. With walls up to 3 feet thick, composed of interlocking branches sealed with mud, the inner chamber remains at a temperature above 48 degrees Fahrenheit never freezing even when outside temperatures drop well below zero. Underwater entrances prevent access by terrestrial predators, while food caches stored beneath the ice provide nutrition when foraging becomes impossible. Aspens create one of autumn's most spectacular visual displays. These deciduous trees live in clonal colonies connected by a single, massive root system. And what appears to be a forest of individual trees could actually be a single organism thousands of years old. Their brilliant golden autumn foliage is due to the tree's reabsorption of chlorophyll from the leaves, revealing yellow carotenoid pigments previously masked by green. The characteristic movement of aspen leaves, which tremble in the slightest breeze, is due to their unique, flattened stems. This adaptation allows sunlight to reach the lower leaves and may reduce herbivory by making it difficult for insects to land and feed. With the arrival of winter, the trees intentionally shed these leaves through a process called abscission, which forms a layer of cells at the base of the leaf, separating it from the branch. Clark's nutcrackers play a crucial role in the reproduction of the whitebark pine. These specialized corvids harvest seeds from the cones and store thousands of them in underground caches scattered across their territory. Their remarkable spatial memory allows them to recover most of these caches during winter food scarcity, but the forgotten seeds become the next generation of trees. The nutcracker's beak represents a specialized tool developed specifically to extract seeds from closed pine cones. This co-evolutionary relationship between bird and tree has developed over millions of years, and the whitebark pine now depends on the nutcracker for seed dispersal. Climate change threatens this relationship, as rising temperatures allow pine beetles to survive at higher elevations, decimating whitebark pine forests at a rate faster than their regeneration. Bull moose complete their annual antler growth cycle as autumn begins. Unlike the antlers of other deer species, which typically branch in multiple directions, moose antlers develop as palmate structures, broad, flattened paddles that can extend up to 6.5 feet from tip to tip. These massive growths require an enormous nutritional investment, consuming calcium and phosphorus that must be replenished before the challenges of winter. The transition from velvet growth to a hardened weapon happens quickly. As blood flow to the antlers ceases, the velvet dries and becomes irritating. Bulls rub against vegetation to remove this dead tissue, sometimes appearing almost frantic in their effort to rid themselves of the shreds of bloody skin. The polished antlers underneath serve both for combat between males and to display their genetic quality to potential mates. Raptor migration reaches its peak during autumn, when resident birds are joined by northern species moving south before winter. Golden eagles glide on ascending thermal currents created when sunlight warms rock walls and south-facing slopes. These massive birds can travel hundreds of miles in a single day, moving skillfully between thermals, gaining altitude in each column of rising air before gliding efficiently to the next. The distinctive V formations of migrating Canada geese have become common sights and sounds along Yellowstone's waterways. This aerial arrangement is not merely symbolic, but represents a sophisticated energy-saving strategy. Each bird, except the leader, rides in the aerodynamic updraft created by the wingtip vortices of the bird ahead, reducing energy expenditure by up to 14%. Leaders rotate periodically, distributing the most demanding position among several individuals. Not all of Yellowstone's birds depart to spend the winter. The American dipper, North America's only truly aquatic passerine bird, remains active year-round, diving into ice-fringed streams to hunt aquatic insects. These extraordinary birds have adapted to their underwater feeding strategy, with specialized blood cells that store extra oxygen, movable scales that close their nostrils during dives, and specialized oil glands that waterproof their feathers. Mammals that remain active in winter begin to change their coats as autumn progresses. The marten's summer coat gives way to a denser winter pelt with longer guard hairs and a more insulating undercoat. This specialized covering allows it to remain active in sub-zero temperatures and deep snow, and it continues hunting red squirrels and snowshoe hares throughout the winter months. The first significant snowfalls typically arrive in Yellowstone's higher elevations in October, creating a landscape in transition. These early storms may dissipate quickly, but they serve as harbingers of the season to come. Plants and animals respond to these cues with increasing urgency, completing final preparations before winter firmly takes hold in the highlands. Morning frosts become increasingly frequent as autumn progresses. The crystalline formations temporarily transform Yellowstone's meadows. These frosts trigger final dormancy in many plant species, whose chemical processes shift from growth to winter survival as cellular structures adapt to prevent rupturing during freezing temperatures. Elk begin their migration with autumn, abandoning their summer ranges in the high country of the park to spend the winter at lower elevations. Some herds travel up to 60 miles, following ancient routes their ancestors have used for countless generations. These journeys cross multiple jurisdictions, such as park boundaries, national forests, and private lands, creating conservation challenges as human development increasingly fragments traditional migration corridors. The thermal areas retain their otherworldly appearance despite the seasonal changes. The vibrant bacterial mats surrounding the hot springs shift slightly in response to cooling ambient temperatures as different microbial communities become dominant. Some thermal pools look even more spectacular when surrounded by frost or light snow, as the juxtaposition of extreme heat and cold creates surreal steam effects in the morning light. Bear-marked trees suffer increasing scratches and bites as winter approaches. Both black bears and grizzlies leave traces of their scent, hair, and visual signs of their presence by rubbing against and scratching specific trees. These communications help them avoid direct confrontations during their pre-hibernation feeding frenzy, when aggression levels are high and territories overlap at productive foraging sites. Brown trout, introduced to Yellowstone waters in the early 20th century, begin their spawning season as water temperatures drop. Females use their tails to dig depressions in the gravel bottoms of streams, where they deposit their eggs for males to fertilize. Unlike the native cutthroat trout, which spawns in spring, brown trout reproduce in autumn. Their eggs develop slowly during the winter months before hatching in early spring. The red fox's distinctive coloration becomes even more striking as its winter coat begins to grow in. Its dense undercoat, which can increase by up to 40% to protect against the cold, gives it a thicker appearance by late autumn. These adaptable predators expand their hunting beyond rodents whenever possible, taking advantage of the seasonal vulnerability of ground-nesting birds and the occasional injured ungulate unable to escape. Bighorn rams prepare for their own breeding season with the arrival of autumn. After spending the summer in bachelor groups, they now approach female herds with growing interest. Initial male interactions begin with ritualized shoving, where their massive curved horns meet without full force. An adult bighorn ram's horns can weigh over 30 pounds, representing roughly 10% of its total body weight. Unlike deer antlers, which are shed annually, these horns grow throughout the animal's life, creating annual growth rings similar to those of trees. Combat between evenly matched rams produces a sound that carries for miles across mountain valleys. Early snowfalls reveal the previously invisible routes used by Yellowstone's wildlife. Game trails become evident as snow accumulates everywhere, except on these frequently traveled routes where constant passage prevents accumulation. These trails typically represent optimal movement corridors through complex terrain, following contours that minimize energy expenditure and offer escape options should predators appear. Mule deer intensify their feeding as autumn progresses, transitioning from succulent summer growth to the woodier browse that will make up their winter diet. Their specialized stomachs, harboring complex microbiomes of bacteria and protozoa, break down plant material indigestible to most other mammals. This adaptation allows them to extract maximum nutrition from seemingly low-quality food sources, such as sagebrush and bitterbrush. The mule deer's prehensile upper lip allows for precise selection of the most nutritious plant parts. Unlike their white-tailed cousins that tend to graze in bulk, the mule deer delicately plucks specific leaves and plant parts, maximizing nutritional intake and minimizing energy expenditure. Smaller mammals prepare to survive the winter. Golden-mantled ground squirrels finalize the details of their hibernation burrows, lining the chambers with grass and leaves for insulation. After increasing their body weight by up to 50% through autumn foraging, they soon enter a deep torpor where their body temperature drops to near ambient levels. Their heart rate drops from 200 beats per minute to just 5 or 10, and their breathing slows to a few breaths per minute. The ground squirrel's specialized cheek pouches allow for the efficient transport of seeds and nuts to underground caches. These expandable compartments can hold surprising amounts of food, allowing multiple items to be transported in a single foraging trip. Some foods are consumed before hibernation, while others create emergency reserves for brief midwinter awakenings, when the animals need quick energy before returning to torpor. At the end of the elk rut, bulls show visible signs of exhaustion. Their obsession with mating comes at a high physical cost, as some bulls lose up to 20% of their body weight during the breeding season. The largest and most dominant bulls, which expend most energy fighting rivals and breeding several females, may enter winter so exhausted that their chances of survival are significantly reduced. Yellowstone's ravens remain active year-round thanks to their intelligence and adaptability, which allow them to thrive in the harshest conditions. Autumn brings more complex social interactions, as young ravens from the previous breeding season establish relationships within the community. These highly intelligent birds engage in seemingly playful behaviors like aerial acrobatics, object manipulation, and even sliding down snowy roofs, apparently for sheer amusement. The raven's remarkable intelligence manifests in its sophisticated problem-solving ability. They make and use tools, remember human faces for years, employ deception when foraging, and demonstrate perspective-taking, uncommon cognitive abilities shared by few species. Their adaptability explains their presence in virtually all of Yellowstone's habitats, from alpine meadows to river valleys and thermal basins. Bighorn sheep born in the spring have grown considerably by autumn, developing the coordination and strength that will help them survive their first winter. Their distinctive climbing ability, already impressive at birth, has been perfected after months of practice on the park's steep cliffs and rocky outcroppings. This specialized locomotion represents their primary defense against predators, which cannot follow them onto nearly vertical terrain. As autumn progresses, the park's vegetation displays a remarkable diversity in its preparation strategies. While deciduous trees, like aspen and cottonwood, lose their leaves entirely, conifers have developed different adaptations to survive the winter. Their specialized, needle-like leaves possess waxy coatings that prevent moisture loss, while natural antifreeze compounds in their sap prevent freeze damage even in the coldest conditions. The greater sage grouse, North America's largest native grouse species, forms larger flocks as winter approaches. These remarkable birds actually gain weight for the winter, unlike many species that enter the season in peak physical condition and gradually lose mass. Their specialized digestive system allows them to survive almost exclusively on sagebrush leaves during the winter months, extracting nutrients from a food source with a volatile oil content too high for most other animals. Mountain goats, though not native to Yellowstone but present in adjacent mountains, prepare for some of the harshest winter conditions any North American mammal can face. Their double-layered coat grows exceptionally dense, with hollow guard hairs that provide insulation comparable to high-tech winter clothing. Their specialized hooves, with soft, grippy centers surrounded by hard, sharp edges, allow them to traverse icy surfaces and nearly vertical rock walls with apparent unconcern. Weather patterns change as autumn progresses, with Pacific storm systems bringing more moisture and colder temperatures. Storm clouds rushing over the mountain ranges often create spectacular lighting effects, with sunbeams breaking through to illuminate areas of the landscape with constantly shifting spotlights. These atmospheric conditions offer some of the most spectacular photographic opportunities of the year. Morning frost formations become more elaborate as autumn temperatures drop. Frost, delicate crystalline structures formed when water vapor transforms directly into ice without passing through a liquid state, creates ephemeral works of art on the landscape. These intricate formations can disappear minutes after sunrise. Their brief existence is a reminder of nature's impermanence. Porcupines change their diet as autumn progresses, shifting from summer herbaceous plants to eating bark in winter. Their specialized digestive system allows them to extract nutrients from the cambium layers of trees, although this low-quality food source requires them to consume large quantities. Their characteristic waddling gait becomes more common near forest edges, where their food trees provide nutrition and protection from predators. The legendary quills of the porcupine represent one of evolution's most effective defensive adaptations. Every adult animal possesses approximately 30,000 of these modified hairs, which detach easily upon contact with a predator. The hollow quills contain antibiotic compounds that deter bacterial infection after embedding in flesh, while microscopic backward-facing barbs make their removal difficult and painful. Trumpeter swans that raise cygnets in Yellowstone's protected waters prepare to migrate to lower elevations, where water remains available throughout the winter. Young swans, hatched in the spring, must develop sufficient flight strength for the journey, as their massive bodies require a considerable runway for takeoff and immense energy to maintain flight. Parents and offspring usually remain together during the winter, and their family bond provides additional security during the difficult months ahead. Spiders undergo their own autumnal dynamics. Many species reach maturity and their maximum size in late summer, and egg-laying occurs before the first hard frosts. Some species create special egg sacs with insulating properties that protect the developing young during the winter, while others produce eggs containing glycerol. The distinctive woolly bear caterpillar, a larval form of the Isabella tiger moth, becomes a frequent sight in autumn as it seeks out shelters to hibernate. Folklore suggests that its brown and black bands predict the severity of the winter, although scientific research finds no correlation. These extraordinary creatures can survive freezing thanks to special proteins in their tissues that prevent the cellular damage typical of freezing. Yellowstone Lake, North America's largest high-altitude lake, hosts spectacular autumnal gatherings of migratory waterfowl. Canada geese gather, preparing for their southward journey, and their distinctive vocalizations create a constant backdrop as they feed intensively on aquatic vegetation to build up fuel reserves for long-distance flights. These pre-migratory gatherings can number in the thousands of birds, transforming quiet bays into noisy avian conventions. Late autumn storms increasingly produce precipitation as sleet or snow rather than rain, especially in Yellowstone's higher elevations, where the average winter snowfall exceeds 150 inches annually. These early storms may briefly transform the landscape before melting, but each successive system leaves a more lasting accumulation as ground temperatures drop and solar radiation weakens with the sun's lower angle. Bison, which evolved specifically for northern winter conditions, remain unfazed by the increasing cold of autumn. Their massive heads and shoulders house specialized muscles for pushing aside snow to reach the underlying vegetation. Their thick hide and dense undercoat provide such effective insulation that snow can accumulate on their backs without melting. Autumn sunlight acquires unique qualities as the season progresses. The sun's lower angle creates prolonged golden hours at dawn and dusk, with light filtering through the atmosphere to create warmer tones across the landscape. Photographers cherish these conditions when dramatic shadows and intense colors combine with weather patterns to create scenes of breathtaking beauty. The night lengthens noticeably as autumn progresses, and darkness occupies more hours each day until the winter solstice. This fundamental rhythm drives biological changes throughout the ecosystem, from physiological shifts in plants and animals preparing for winter to the behavioral adaptations of species, adjusting their activity patterns to light availability. Full moons take on special importance in autumn, providing additional light for nocturnal animals during increasingly long nights. Predators such as mountain lions and owls may alter their hunting strategies to take advantage of prey made more visible by moonlight reflecting off frost or a light dusting of snow. These lunar cycles have influenced wildlife behavior for millennia, creating temporal patterns virtually invisible to diurnal human observers. As autumn progresses, human presence in Yellowstone diminishes. Most park facilities close by the end of October. Roads become increasingly vulnerable to snow closures, and only the hardiest visitors remain to witness the transition into winter. This seasonal reduction in human activity allows wildlife to reclaim spaces typically occupied by summer tourism. Bear tracks in fresh snow become increasingly common as hibernation approaches. Both black bears and grizzlies make their final foraging efforts before denning, sometimes remaining active longer than usual if food is still abundant. Young bears preparing for their first hibernation may appear especially frantic in their foraging, lacking the fat reserves and experience of older animals. Den selection is a crucial decision for hibernating bears. Grizzly bears typically excavate their dens on north-facing slopes at higher elevations, where snow accumulates early and remains throughout the winter, providing crucial insulation. The effort invested in den construction correlates with the anticipated severity of the coming winter. Yet another example of how animals respond to environmental cues invisible to most human observers. Aspens, growing along waterways, create some of autumn's most striking visual compositions. Their brilliant yellow foliage is often perfectly reflected in the still waters. These trees serve crucial ecological roles in riparian ecosystems. Their root systems stabilize the banks against erosion, while their branches provide nesting habitat for birds and perches for bald eagles. The falling of leaves in autumn returns essential nutrients to the soil through decomposition. Fungi, bacteria, and invertebrates break down the fallen vegetation, turning complex biological structures into building blocks that will nourish the next year's growth. This recycling system represents one of nature's most efficient processes. Nothing is wasted, as energy and materials cycle through the ecosystem in a continuous transformation. Coyote vocalizations become more noticeable in autumn as family groups consolidate before winter's challenges. Their complex chorus of howls, yips, and whines serves multiple communicative functions, such as announcing territory, strengthening family bonds, and exchanging information about resources or threats. A single coyote can emit sounds that seem to come from several animals. As autumn nights lengthen, the opportunities to witness the northern lights increase. These ethereal light shows result from the interaction of solar particles with the Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere. Yellowstone's relative isolation from light pollution makes it an excellent place to observe them when solar activity creates favorable conditions. The curtains of green, purple, and occasionally red light create unforgettable experiences for lucky observers. The first significant ice formations appear along the banks of streams and rivers as autumn temperatures drop below freezing for extended periods. These crystalline structures grow from the banks, creating delicate patterns that change daily with temperature fluctuations. The sound of moving water is muffled as ice restricts the flow, creating an audible signal of the season's advance. As the final days of autumn give way to winter's dominion, the great cycle prepares to begin anew. Seeds lie dormant beneath the earth and snow. Animals adapt for winter survival, and the landscape enters a period of apparent slumber that conceals the continuous biological processes occurring beneath the surface. The Wheel of the Seasons continues its eternal turning in Yellowstone, America's first national park and one of its greatest living laboratories. For more than 150 years, Yellowstone National Park has served as a wildlife sanctuary and a showcase for visitors. This dual purpose creates inevitable tensions when seeking a balance between preservation and accessibility, scientific research and recreational use, and wilderness values and human well-being. The park represents an ongoing experiment in how humanity might live in relationship with the natural world rather than dominating it. The human footprint in Yellowstone is relatively sparse compared to the surrounding lands. However, our presence generates a ripple effect throughout the entire ecosystem. Roads fragment the habitat and alter wildlife movement patterns. Infrastructure concentrates human activity in sensitive areas. Even well-intentioned wildlife viewing can alter natural behaviors when visitors get too close or gather in large numbers. However, the park also showcases conservation success stories that would be impossible without human intervention. The return of wolves in the mid-1990s restored a keystone predator absent for decades, triggering trophic cascades that improved the ecosystem's health and biodiversity. Careful management has helped restore populations of grizzly bears, bison, trumpeter swans, and other species that were once regionally endangered. Scientific research conducted within Yellowstone's boundaries has expanded human understanding of various aspects, from microbiology to ecosystem dynamics. The extremophile bacteria discovered in the park's thermal features revolutionized DNA research via thermostable enzymes that are now used in laboratories worldwide. The wolf reintroduction provided unprecedented opportunities to study predator and prey relationships in a relatively intact ecosystem. Perhaps most importantly, Yellowstone demonstrates the value of restraint, of consciously choosing not to develop, not to extract, not to fundamentally alter landscapes that still function according to natural processes. In a world increasingly transformed by human activity, these relatively intact ecosystems provide practical benefits through ecological services and spiritual and cultural values that are less tangible but equally crucial. The true measure of Yellowstone's success might lie in its ability to inspire wonder and curiosity for the natural world. Generations of visitors have experienced transformative moments, whether through wildlife encounters, exposure to geological phenomena, or simply the humbling perspective provided by being in a landscape where human concerns suddenly seem insignificant against the vast scale of natural processes. As climate change alters temperature and precipitation patterns, Yellowstone faces new challenges. Species adapted to a specific season could see their life cycles fall out of sync with food availability. Winter seasons are shortening, which affects both wildlife and water availability in the surrounding agricultural areas that depend on snowmelt. The park's relatively intact state provides crucial resilience, but it cannot completely escape global changes. During unprecedented global environmental challenges, Yellowstone stands as both a warning and a hope, a reminder of what we can lose through carelessness and what could still be preserved or restored through mindful management. The seasons will continue their eternal cycle here, but increasingly, their character and rhythm might reflect human decisions made far beyond the park's boundaries. The future of this extraordinary landscape depends not only on the management within its borders, but on collective decisions about how humanity will relate to the natural world that sustains us all. Are you captivated by the wildlife and seasons of Yellowstone? Click like and share your favorite animal in the comments. If you want to support the conservation of this natural wonder, don't forget to share this video with your friends. Make sure to click the bell icon so you never miss our upcoming wildlife stories. Until then, stay tuned for more wilderness adventures.